Hi everybody. Now we have a brief discussion on basics of tracheostomy. Tracheostomy is an opening which is made through the neck just below the larynx, through which an indwelling tube is placed and thus an artificial airway is created. Hence, the tracheostomy is used for the people who cannot breathe through their normal respiratory system and who require long-term airway support. Before going into the basics of tracheostomy, let us understand certain definition of terms. Decannulation. It is the process whereby a tracheostomy tube is removed once patient no longer needs it. Humidification. It is a mechanical process of increasing the water vapor of an inspired gas. Stroma, an opening either natural or surgically created, which connects a portion of the body cavity to the outside environment. In this tracheostomy, here the stroma means the connection which is made between the trachea and the anterior surface of the neck. Tracheostomy, which is a surgical procedure to create an opening between second or third tracheal rings into the trachea below the larynx. So this is the actual site where the tracheostomy is performed. Next term is tracheal suctioning, which means clearing thick mucus and secretions from the trachea and lower airway through the application of negative pressure via suction catheter. Tracheostomy tube. It is a curved hollow tube of rubber or plastic inserted into the tracheostomy stoma. Next, we'll see certain components of tracheostomy tube. Outer tube. Actually, this is the one which is being inserted into the trachea. Inner tube. Inner tube is the one which fits snugly into the outer tube, which can be easily removed for cleaning purpose, whereas the outer tube will remain permanently over the trachea. Flange is the flat plastic plate attached to outer tube, which lies flush against the patient's neck, and where this flange is used to secure the tracheostomy tube. And we also have 15 mm obturator, which fits all ventilator and the respiratory equipment. All other remaining features are optional. These optional features are cuff. Certain time, tracheostomy tube have inflatable air reservoir, which helps anchor the tracheostomy tube in place and provides maximum airway, sealing with the least amount of local compression. To inflate this cuff, air is injected via the air inlet valve. It is a one-way valve that prevents spontaneous escape of the injected air. Whereas we have one more thing called the air inlet line, which acts as a route for air from air inlet valve to cuff. And next we have a pilot cuff, which serves as an indicator of the amount of air which is there in the cuff, which secures the tracheostomy tube inside the trachea, and it also prevents the escape of the tracheostomy tube. Fenestration. The word fenestration means hole which is situated on the curve of the outer tube, which is usually used to enhance airflow in and out of the trachea. There are single or multiple fenestrations are available in the tracheostomy tube. Next is the speaking valve or tracheostomy button or cap. It can be used to occlude the tracheostomy tube opening, where speaking valve allows during inspiration to facilitate speech and swallow, whereas tracheostomy button or cap used during both inspiration and expiration prior to decannulation. Next, we look into the indications for tracheostomy. Tracheostomy is mainly used to facilitate the removal of bronchial secretions for the people who cannot remove spontaneously. Or we can secure airway in patients with major facial injuries, head and neck surgery, respiratory tract obstruction due to tumor or foreign body. Or also we can use tracheostomy for patients who are at high risk of aspiration, for example, patients with brain injuries. Tracheostomy also enables long-term ventilation among patients following spinal cord injury. And it also facilitates weaning from ventilator, and it secures airway in head injury or stroke patients. There are different levels of tracheostomy. And based on timing, we can say the tracheostomy as elective or routine tracheostomy and emergency tracheostomy. And based on the cause, we can say either it has the permanent tracheostomy or temporary tracheostomy. And based on the location or site, we can say high, mid, or the low tracheostomy. First, let us look into what is permanent tracheostomy. Permanent tracheostomy is permanently disconnecting the pharynx and the proximal end of the trachea, and which will be sutured to the skin. And this is an elective procedure carried out as part of an operation or surgeries. And this will be there permanently for longer period of time. Next is the temporary tracheostomy. There is a communication between the pharynx and the lower area via larynx will be existing, and sometimes temporary tracheostomy which is created can be used permanently also for longer period of time. Next, we'll see levels of tracheostomy, that is site where the tracheostomy is performed. We have high tracheostomy where the tracheostomy opening is made above the isthmus, and mid-level tracheostomy where the tracheostomy is made at the second or third tracheal ring, and this is the most commonly used site for creating tracheostomy. And third one is the low where the tracheostomy is made below the isthmus where the trachea will go deep inside. Next, we'll see the various techniques or types of tracheostomies. First one is the cricothyroidectomy, where the skin and the cricothyroid membrane will be opened. Usually this is made at the level of the cricothyroid. Next is the open tracheostomy, where the dissection and incision of trachea will be done under the direct visualization. Usually it is being done at the operation theatre before the patient undergoing any surgeries, head and neck surgeries or ENT surgeries. And third one is the percutaneous procedure, usually done at the bedside, where Scheldinger technique will be used to dilate the trachea between the rings, and the opening will be created and the tracheostomy tube will be inserted. Next, we'll look into the types of tracheostomy tube. And we have the cuffed tracheostomy tube, where there is a cuff over the tracheostomy tube and which will be inflated with the air. It is mainly used to increase or improve the ventilation or oxygenation. This having cuff prevents aspiration with the feeding tubes or decrease gag reflex and gastroesophageal reflex. Next is the uncuffed tube. Here you can see there is no cuff is there. So hence when we use this uncuffed tube, there is no air inflated cuff available to prevent the slipping of the tracheal tube. This uncuffed tracheostomy tubes are available in both the plastic as well as in metal, which allows air to flow freely around the tracheostomy tube through the larynx, and this reduces the risk of tracheal damage. But we also have the disadvantage of chances for slipping the tracheostomy. The third one is the fenestrated tracheostomy tube, which has the hole over the tracheostomy tube, which permit speech through the upper airway when the external opening is carved and the cuff is deflated. and it restores more of a normal airflow by allowing air to pass up and down the airway from the nose and mouth. And there is another advantage of using this fenestrated tracheostomy tube is allowing secretions to be coughed off through the mouth once the patient regains the coughing reflex. And this is the metal tracheostomy tube, which is very rarely used, but this can be used among the patients who require the permanent tracheostomy. Next, we'll see a most important thing, what we have to do as a nurses when caring for the patient with the tracheostomy is monitoring the cuff pressure. This instrument is called the cuff pressure manometer, which can be used to assess the patency as well as effectiveness of cuffed tubes. This handheld gauge can add or remove air as necessary, where when we make the tracheostomy opening, the air will be used to inflate the cuff. The amount of air should be maintained between 25 to 34 centimeter water. So the air pressure which is there inside the cuff can be monitored using this cuff pressure manometer. And it should be checked at least twice a day, and it should be recorded on daily in the tracheostomy care chart. Suppose if the air pressure goes below 25 centimeter of water, then we have to suspect then there is some problem with the tube, and it should be promptly reported to the treating team. Next, we'll see what are the physiological changes that will be caused when making the tracheostomy tube. The tracheostomy tube bypasses the upper airway. It affects the normal functioning of the nose and the mouth, which the normal functioning are warming of air, humidification of air, filtering of air, including both dust particles and the microorganisms, communication and vocalizing, swallowing, nutrition and hydration, and smell. All these normal functions will be altered when the patient is put on the tracheostomy tube. And tracheostomy tube also reduces the upper airway anatomical dead space up to 150 ml or 50%. Pulmonary resistance remains higher when breathing via the tracheostomy tube compared to normal upper airway breathing. Amount of resistance is dependent on the size and type of the tracheostomy tube used. And there will be a difference in dead space between an endotracheal tube and tracheostomy tube is approximately 20 ml. So these physiological changes will be there when the patient is put on with the tracheostomy tube, that we need to understand when carrying the patients with the tracheostomy tube. So our care can be altered or planned according to these physiological changes. Next, we'll see when the patient is on tracheostomy, the normal humidification function of the upper airway will be altered. Hence, humidification becomes the essential part of the care of patient with the tracheostomy. When the tracheostomy tube bypasses the upper airway, it prevents the normal humidification and also the filtration of the inhaled air via the upper airway. Unless air inhaled via the tracheostomy tube is humidified, the epithelium of the trachea and bronchium will become dry, which increases the potential for tube blockage. Tracheal humidification can be provided by a heated humidifier or heat and moist exchanger or a tracheostomy bite filter. So where we need to perform the humidification. So we first will see heated humidification. Heated humidification delivers gas at body temperature saturated with water, which prevents the thickening of secretions. The heated humidification temperature is set at 37 degrees Celsius, but the temperature can be ranged between 36.5 degree to 37.5 degrees Celsius at the tracheostomy site. So some of the indications for using these heated humidifications are oxygen delivery via tracheostomy mask, or patient who is being connected with the mechanical ventilator. Sometimes the patient who is having respiratory infection with increased secretion, or to manage the thick secretions, this heated humidification can be used. Next, we'll see heat moisture exchanger or HME filter, we say, which contains a hygroscopic paper surface that absorbs the moisture in expired air. Upon inspiration, the air passes over the hygroscopic paper surface and moistens and warms the air that passes into the airway. This HME is recommended for all patients with a tracheostomy tube. This HME fit directly onto the tracheostomy tube, which can be changed daily or as needed if the filter appears to be excessively moist or blocked. We need to consult respiratory team to assess patient's suitability to fit this HME filter or heat moisture exchanger. HME with oxygen and suction port are suitable for low flow oxygen administration. Next, we'll see managing the abnormal secretions in the tracheostomy tube. Changes in secretions, that is blood-stained or yellow and green secretion, which may indicate infection or trauma of the upper airway. If there is excessive or abnormal secretion, we need to notify the parent team, that is the treating consultant team, for review. They may suggest sending sputum specimen for culture and sensitivity, and they also consider commencement of antibiotics as prophylaxis or to treat infection. And persistent blood-stained secretions from the tracheostomy tube need to be investigated to determine the cause of the excessive secretions. Next, when we deal with the tracheostomy patients, we need to understand treating or dealing with emergencies. The first emergency is tracheostomy tube exit or falls out. When you come across the situation of tube exit or falls out, first thing is don't panic. If we panic, the patients and family also will become panic. That will create a chaos when treating the patient. Once the tracheostomy tube has been in place for about 5 days, the tract is well formed and it usually not suddenly close. Suppose if the tracheostomy tube comes up, first reassure the patient, call for medical help. Ask the patient to breathe normally through the stoma while waiting for the doctor. When there is an opening in the trachea, the patient can breathe in. So we can ask the patient to breathe normally since till the tube treating doctor arrives at the bedside. Sometimes we also can use the stay suture or the tracheal dilator to help keep the stoma open if necessary. But always you have to stay with the patient till the treating doctor arrives. Meanwhile, you can prepare for insertion of the new tracheostomy tube with the help of the other staff members. Once the treating team arrives and replaces the new tracheostomy tube, tie the tube securely, leaving 1 finger space between ties and the patient's neck. And we need to check tube position by asking the patient to inhale deeply, where they should be able to do so easily and comfortably. And hold a piece of tissue in front of the opening. It should be blown during patient's exhalation. So these measures has to be taken if you come across a situation of tube exit or falls out. The next common situation which we come across is the patient having acute dyspnea with tracheostomy tube. Most commonly, this dyspnea is caused by partial or complete blockage of the tracheostomy tube retained secretions. To unblock the tracheostomy tube, ask the patient to cough, remove the inner cannula, do the suction. Suppose if these measures fail, commence low concentration oxygen therapy via tracheostomy mask and call for the medical assistance. Next, one thing which is very, very important when treating patients with the tracheostomy tube is having an essential equipment at the bedside. So this is called as the tracheostomy care pack. This tracheostomy care pack includes tracheal dilators, spare tracheostomy tube, that is one same type tracheostomy tube. That suppose if the patient is having 8.5 size and same size tracheostomy tube should be available, and one size smaller than patient's size, and one cuffed tube should be also available. Suppose if the patient is having uncuffed tracheostomy tube, then there should be one cuffed tube at the bedside should be available. That is having same type as the patient, having in situ, one size smaller than patient has in situ, and one cuffed tube. These three type of tracheostomy tube should be available in the care pack. Next is the oxygen administration device, stitch cutter, 10 ml syringe, lubricating jelly, emergency non-fenestrated inner lumen should be available, cuff pressure gauge or the manometer, tracheostomy tube holders, cleaning, swabs. These all things should be available in the tracheostomy care pack. But having this care pack has one more important point to remember is all this content of the care pack should be taken the picture, and the contents of the tracheostomy care pack should be stick at the outer surface of the care pack. That is what is inside the care pack should be seen with the photocopies of the thing. This list of equipment must be available to ensure patient safety in the event of clinical emergency. That is the purpose of having the tracheostomy care pack. Next, we'll see decannulation procedure. So the patient is there with the tracheostomy for longer period, but when the patient condition improves, we may have to decannulate the patient. So the criteria for decannulation includes patient is alert, oriented, and responsive to commands. And patient should not be dependent on a ventilator to remove the tracheostomy tube. And patient should be able to manage their oral secretion without a risk of aspiration. And patient should not require frequent suctioning for tracheal secretions. Patient should be able to cough and clean her tracheal secretion. They should have the intact coughing reflex. And tracheostomy tube should be occluded for at least 12 to 24 hours, and patient should be able to breathe on their own. Then the process of removing the tracheostomy tube can be done. So the process of decannulation includes, once all of the above criteria are met, the patient will be informed that their tracheostomy tube is going to be removed and they have to breathe on their own. And instruct the patient, they may experience a sensation of shortness of breath for a few minutes once they are decannulated. Arrangement should be made for backup personnel in the ward. The patient is placed supine on their bed and the tube is removed. The opening into the neck is covered with the sterile gauze and a tape is placed over the gauze. Patient also instructed to occlude the gauze with their fingertip every time they cough or speak so that air does not leak through the stoma. And they should change the gauze and the tape at least once a day until the hole in the neck heals itself and closed over the next few days to weeks. In a minority, that is less than 10% of patient, the opening into the neck skin has to be surgically closed. This has to be determined by the ENT specialist or the treating consultant. Hence, certain key points that we should remember when treating patients with tracheostomy are: a tracheostomy is a temporary or permanent artificial opening in the trachea. Patients with a tracheostomy follow a complex pathway through critical care to general wards. Their care regimen is completely different and there should be a standard protocols available in the ICU as well as in the wards to manage the patients with the tracheostomy. Half of tracheostomy related deaths are due to displacement of the tube. So nurses will have a important role to take care of the tracheostomy tube. All patients with a tracheostomy should have a bed head label with information about their tube size and the airway management protocol. An emergency tracheostomy tube box should accompany patients on transfer if they are being transferred for any investigations are shifting to general wards. These are some of the references made. Thank you.